Let's talk about the Audiosense T800. The Audiosense T800 was released in 2019 by, of course, Audiosense. At the time, it was their flagship IEM, and to this day almost is. It is their flagship all-balanced armature IEM, although the AQ7 is their current flagship. However, that one seems to be tuned a bit weird, although I haven't heard it myself. The T800 is an 8-balanced armature IEM, and it employs all Knowles balanced armatures. 2 for the bass, 4 for the mids, and 2 for the treble. It's unique in the fact that it uses a vented bass balanced armature. This gives it a much more dynamic-like bass response. Back in 2019, it was priced around $300, which at the time was a great deal for an IEM with all brand name balanced armature drivers, although these days it goes for about half of its original asking price. It was tuned in collaboration with Knowles. It employs no electronic crossover. The crossover is done physically with sound tubes. And in the nozzle of the IEM is a Knowles filter. This filter can be changed using the Knowles filter tool, and it can be used to adjust the treble response, although mine uses the stock filter as I like the stock sound. It's a 3D printed shell, printed in resin of course. It's very comfortable and uses a custom universal IEM shape. You can see it has that teardrop shape that many IEMs these days have, although this was kind of a pioneer for its time. It's very comfortable and I can wear it for hours on end with no issues. That's been the introduction of the Audiosense T800. Let's move on to the unboxing experience. As I bought the T800 some years ago with my own money, I no longer have all of the accessories. I'm sure they're around somewhere, but I think I'm missing a set of tips, and I'm not really sure where the box is. Having said that, I do have some of the accessories on hand, and we can go over those now. Of course, in the box, you get the IEMs. I would hope so. You also get a cable with the IEMs. The cable's fine, although it has angled connectors which don't really work with my ear anatomy. You also get this nice carry case. It has rubber inside for protecting your audio goods, and it's quite well made, and it's apparently waterproof. The Audiosense T800 also comes with the Audiosense AS400 tips. I don't think that's what they're called, but I'll have to check on that. Great tip, by the way. I use them on a lot of IEMs. They also come with the the GT40S tips. Also an okay tip, and I have used these on a few IEMs as well. And I just recalled that these tips are called the Audiosense S400 tips. I have a lot of them. It also did come with a tool for removing the MMCX cables. It's just a little chomper. So it's actually really handy to have around. I can demonstrate how that works now. I'll just plug in my IEM, just like that. Now, MMCX can be a pain to remove, but this makes it a lot easier. You just take your little thing, like this, put it over the cable, and give her a squeeze. Just like that. Disconnect it, and you haven't ruined your IEM cable, as MMCX is rather delicate. That's been the unboxing experience. So let's get into the sound. Before I start talking about my subjective impressions of the sound, let's measure the IEM. About 2 inches. No, just kidding. I use a Clone 711 Coupler to measure all of my equipment. This is the coupler. I've already measured the IEM, so I don't need to do that. To standardize all of my testing, I use my trusty QELIX 5K as a source. I use it in high performance mode, high gain, and I measure all my IEMs at 85 decibels. I also use foam tips for my measurements, as it makes heating the seal in the coupler easier. I'll put the graph up, but I'm just going to talk about the sound now. The Audiosense T800 is a bassy IEM, a very bassy IEM. And this is impressive given that it's an all-BA IEM. I wouldn't say it sounds like a dynamic driver, but it certainly doesn't sound like your regular BA. I'd argue this could be for bass heads, although the mids are rich and clear and not as recessed as you'd expect. Although it is V-shaped, the bass is sloped nicely and doesn't really bleed into the mids. Other reviews say this IEM's rather bright, but I find it quite well tuned in the treble. It's pretty smooth and you can turn it up loud without it becoming sibilant. It does have a bit of a peak just before 4K, but I don't find this troublesome at all. And the treble extension is fine. What's really impressive about this IEM is that it came out in 2019. That was 5 years ago now. In the terms of Chinese IEMs, well, it's a dinosaur. It holds its own against other IEMs of this time, and I'd argue it's one of the best done V-shaped IEMs in existence. Now, as far as comparison goes, I have here another bassy all-BA IEM. This is the IvipQ Conch V11. Out of the box, this IEM is actually quite lean, but if you use an 80 ohm or 75 ohm impedance adapter, it becomes a bass over mids IEM, much like the T800. But these IEMs are quite different. The Conch also employs a vented all-BA system. However, it's using a Songyun BA for the bass. Now, I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it here. One moment. Where is that bass BA? Here we are. Right here. This is the Songyun bass BA. It's a dual driver unit, and it's vented. But you'll notice, it's not that big. If we look at the T800's bass BA, which is visible, yeah, you can kind of see that. It's visible here. It's quite large. It's almost 30% bigger than the Songyun one. The result is that the T800 has a lot of powerful slamming mid-bass, although the V11 is more sub-bass focused. The T800 honestly has very good timbre for a all-BA IEM. It's quite natural, there's no plasticiness or graininess. Although, if you AB with a well-tuned DD, you might find a hint of artificialness about it. It has great detail. This was one of its main selling points at the time, and something many reviewers picked up on. It pulls a lot of information out of the music, and it has good resolution. The stage is not huge, although it's a little bit just outside your head, and the imaging is quite good as well. Layers and placements of instruments and sounds is well executed. Overall, it's a good IEM. It was at the time, and now that you can get it for as low as $150 often. I'd say it's worth picking up, and if you like the V-shaped bass head tuning with treble that isn't overly offensive, I'd say it's a good buy. This is my first review, so it might be a little rough around the edges, but I wanted to review the T800 as a baseline to compare other reviews against. At this point in time, it's a very middle-of-the-road IEM that I think a lot of other IEMs would compare well against. It resolves well, it sounds good, the timbre's acceptable. So, yeah. Thanks for watching.